Good morning. My name is Lisa McGiffert. I'm with the Patient Safety Action Network. We're a national patient-led nonprofit working to end medical harm through public transparency and accountability. The public expects and trusts that doctors with licenses will deliver safe care. They believe someone in government is informed and will take action against doctors who pose a threat to the safety of patients. But frankly, most people don't even know that the medical board exists. So it is really important for the board to carry out its mission to protect the public. And time after time, we have seen that they have failed. Some have been high-profile cases like Dr. Dunch, also known as Dr. Death, but others are under the radar, like the 50 doctors that KXAN found who had their licenses suspended or revoked in other states. This bill gives the medical board new tools to protect patients through improved oversight of the many doctors that they must keep track of. And I'm not going to, it was laid out very well and explained, but a lot of people sometimes have questions about the National Practitioner Data Bank, which is a resource. It's a federal agency. And one of the things that this bill does is it requires the medical board in Texas to do what they call continuous query. And once they register the doctors, they will get an automatic notice whenever something comes into this federal database. And it's really important because many doctors are licensed in numerous states. And also the data bank collects information about Medicare fraud and drug DEA offenses and things like that that might be important for the board to know. So we think this is a really important tool for them to use. And I'll answer any questions if you have them, but won't go into all the details.
Thank you for being here this morning. Members, any questions for the witness? We appreciate you. And your testimony. Mr. Wendell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ware Wendell, Executive Director for Texas Watch. We are for the legislation. Our nonpartisan nonprofit has advocated for patient safety for 25 years. I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for this hearing on this critical bill. And I want to thank you, Senator Hall. You have been a very strong voice for reform at the Texas Medical Board. And I firmly believe that this bill will save lives in the state of Texas. This bill passed the House with 124 aye votes. That's about as close as you get to a unanimous vote in the Texas House these days. It's a very strong bipartisan bill. We want to thank the Representatives Johnson, both Julie and Ann, and also Representative Ford Price and Representative Reggie Smith for their hard work on this legislation. We have a patient safety crisis in this state and all across this country. Preventable medical errors are one of the leading causes of death in this country. We lose 250,000 lives a year to preventable medical errors. And it's a small number of physicians in crisis who cause the majority of the harm. I've given you the leading study from Robert Oschel, and they looked at the National Practitioner Data Bank data. It's 1.8% of physicians were responsible for half of the harm reported to the Practitioner Data Bank. So these are physicians in crisis. It's important to keep them away from patients. Frankly, it's important to keep them away from fellow physicians and nurses so they're not harmed as well. Right now, as we speak, a few blocks away, there is an Austin surgeon who is facing justice at the courthouse after years and years of allegations of abuse. This was reported in the Austin American-Statesman on the front page yesterday. He's being sentenced right now. But he was allowed to practice medicine in the state of Texas for years during that time. There was the instance of an anesthesiologist in North Texas who's alleged to have been spiking IV bags with nerve agents, causing the death of a fellow anesthesiologist and sending many patients into cardiac events. So you have to identify these dangerous doctors, keep them away from the public, keep them away from fellow physicians and nurses so they're not harmed. This bill does that. It gives the Texas Medical Board the tools it needs to fulfill its mission of safeguarding the public through professional accountability. I also want to highlight the 14-day reporting requirement. That's important because right now there's a 30-day requirement to report to the National Practitioner Data Bank. And so you see 29 and 28-day suspensions sometimes to get around that. 14 days is very important. With that, I'll take any questions.
Members, any questions? I do want to say that I think Senator Hancock said, well, did you ever think you would see a Julie Johnson, Bob Hall bill come together? And I just have to take this moment to say that that's what makes Texas so special. We have a partisan fight here and there, and they can take on a lot of passion, but for the most part, almost all of our bills are bipartisan, and I think this bill highlights it, that we put Texans first and do what's right. And there are a lot of practicing physicians that just are incredibly great, but there are some really bad actors that happen in every profession. And this is an important piece of legislation. I want to thank Representative Johnson and Senator Hall. Senator Hall has been working on these issues for some time now. And I just want to thank y'all for coming out and supporting. Members, any other questions? Senator Hall.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate what you say, because it is important to understand that we really do issues. It's not personalities here. And it's amazing the number of times that I've been co-author between Democrats and Republicans on issues that we recognize that need to be addressed, and how we can set aside those things we don't agree on and don't let them get in the way of the things we do agree on. And that's one of the reasons I think over here we do make progress. And I do think bills like this, and I appreciate you coming in and helping to bring this to light, because we've got a lot more work to do. The concerns I've had and what we were expressing in our SB 666 is that the Texas Medical Board has too often taken the easy path and gone after frivolous things in trying to chase down second and third and fourth hand complaints that amount to nothing at all. Or chasing doctors that maybe didn't wear their mask quite right in the office, or maybe they use hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, which have never even been addressed at all, as opposed to incidents like what you talked about, where we had 50 doctors that were just given a cursory, okay, come on in. And it wasn't until KXAN and their investigations pointed out, hey, these guys came to Texas because they lost their license in the other state. Right. Well, they were too busy doing the frivolous stuff instead of actually protecting people. And we're hoping that this bill and what we talked about in 666, which may or may not make it, will help them get their attention to start focusing on the job they're supposed to be doing. That's all we want, is the proper protection of the people of Texas. Because after all, that is a role of government, is the protection of people. And I thank you for stepping up and coming in and helping us talk about this.
I couldn't agree with you more, Senator Hall. It's identifying the most serious harm and taking action to protect life. This bill will protect life in the state of Texas, and we thank you.